And we've got breaking news now. Rescue divers have recovered 2 bodies from the super yacht that sank off Sicily earlier this week. And they are the second and third victims of the shipwreck to be found. You can see there on your screen live pictures of what is now very much a recovery mission. No longer it looks like a rescue mission. 2 bodies have been recovered from that yacht. We believe one of them is male. No formal identification yet. You can see there live pictures of one of those bodies tragically being carried into the back of an ambulance. This is breaking news from Sicily. These pictures are live. And let's cross now to Sicily and speak to GBNews reporter. No, we don't have Adam just yet. These are live pictures. As I said, this operation now into its 3rd day, and 2 bodies recovered, found inside that hull. The hull was breached this morning. A window was broken and divers were able to access inside. There were hopes that pockets of air may have allowed a miraculous survival of anybody trapped inside that hull of the £14 million super yacht. It now looks decreasingly likely that is the case, as we are seeing here live pictures of 2 bodies being brought ashore. Now, all we know at present, there are still 4 other bodies missing. 3 have been recovered. A total of 7 on board that super yacht went missing. The Bayesian, and 3 have now been found. The ship's chef was the first to be found on the day of the tragic accident off the coast of Sicily. And now, as we can see, 2 more bodies have been retrieved and are being brought ashore. We there have forensic tents that are being taken into that for examination. The meticulous evidence gathering is now underway. Now, all these images are distressing, so I apologise if you find them distressing. This is a live crime scene. We are bringing these pictures as we speak. The recovery of 2 bodies from inside that super yacht. So let's cross now. We do have Sicily. We can speak to GBNews reporter Adam Cherry, who is live on the scene. Adam, welcome to the show. When we spoke yesterday, the prospect of getting to survivors was looking vanishingly, looking like a vanishing chance. And it appears now, Adam, that has been borne through. 2 bodies have been recovered.
Yeah, Martin, you've just seen on your screens, viewers at home, in the last few minutes, 2 bodies arriving on the shore, being escorted into an ambulance here. Emergency services personnel all lined up on the pier here. Most of the vessels which have been out to sea all day long have just returned to the shore here. One, the largest, has turned back to return to the wreckage, above the wreckage. The rest are now are now with those on the shore and negotiating the circumstances with the 2 bodies, unfortunately.
And what's happening here? We haven't had any form of identification yet. That, of course, will come in the fullness of time, but it is being announced on the global wires, on PA. 2 bodies have been found, one of them male, Adam.
Yeah, a male, heavy-set male. They're not saying any more than that at the moment. You say that will come in the fullness of time. There are still 4 more missing people on that vessel. However, given the latest developments, given the speed with which they're now progressing through the vessel using a more sophisticated underwater drone, that we could possibly see more developments very, very shortly. As I say, the largest vessel has already returned back to the scene of the wreckage, so they are immediately resuming search efforts as I speak.
And we know, Adam, of course, the about 50 metres of depth of water, great pressure, and very challenging circumstances of this recovery mission because, of course, the only way into the vessel was through hatches, and that places the dive teams, the rescue teams themselves in quite a lot of peril and a short window, Adam Cherry, of when they're able to be operative due to decompression. All of these circumstances made this a slow and meticulous recovery mission, but now, Adam, it appears that it is bearing some grim evidence.
Yeah, that's right. They could only spend up to 12 minutes submerged before having to resurface. So I suspect the arrival of this sophisticated drone technology has massively sped up the search and rescue or now indeed the search and recovery operation. They were going cabin to cabin. Of course, the ship sank very early in the morning, so most of those on board would have been asleep in their rooms. The difficulty the divers also had was that given that the ship was virtually intact on the water, underwater, lots of furniture was blocking the exits. It was very difficult for them to see into the vessel. The glass in the windows is very thick. They were having difficulty breaking it. All of that contributing to a very long search process. But now significant changes, I suspect, as I say, with that robot, and now we can expect more very soon.
And of course, the huge advantage, Adam, of the underwater drone technology is that they don't have that human weakness, if you like, of only being able to stay underwater for a limited period of time. They'll be able to go into tight spaces. They'll be navigated from shore, no doubt, by a human operator. And so that would have allowed a much more forensic, detailed and in-depth analysis. And that, in many senses, has hastened the point of us getting to this recovery stage. But it doesn't look any more, Adam Cherry, as there's much chance of anybody being found alive on this craft now.
Well, no, the last hope really was of air pockets, given the size of the ship, giving people enough air to last for at least another maybe 12 hours or so from this morning. And of course, these developments would suggest that that hasn't been possible. With the air pockets, it's always difficult because if the ship moves even slightly, that can affect those pockets and can accelerate their decline. So that may have been a contributing factor in why they were slower earlier on, because they didn't want to rock or damage the ship or affect the ship too much. As you say, Martin, it's not looking good at this point.
And we do have, I believe we can show them again, we have pictures, distressing images, so if you're going to be offended by this, just warning you now, we have images of those bodies being carried ashore just a very short while ago on the dockside there on Sicily. You can see the bodies being carried ashore. Just to repeat, if you're just tuning in, the recovery of two bodies from the super yacht Bayesian, 4 bodies, 4 people still missing. Those images there, you can see inside what is a body bag. That was one of the bodies recovered from the hull, being taken, as you can see, into the privacy of forensic tents and also into the back of an ambulance. And the process now will be one of a more formal identification, no doubt. That process will be now beginning. And just to repeat, 4 bodies, 4 people still missing, 2 bodies recovered just now, and of course 1 on the night of the incident itself, on the early morning of the incident. A total of 3 bodies now recovered, 4 still at large. And Adam Cherry now begins the process of the formal identification of those bodies, no doubt in a nearby medical facility.
Yeah, as I say, we do know that one of those bodies recently discovered was a male, heavily set. Not saying any more than that, of course, at the moment. Wouldn't like to speculate on that. Some of those still missing, of the 6 still missing, but we had Mike Lynch, the British businessman, his 18-year-old daughter, a lawyer from a very high-profile law firm. But again, the details on these 2 are not being readily released yet. But to say, Martin, I can also see behind me, beyond the large vessels out in the water above the wreckage, there is another smaller vessel which is just beyond it. So they are still looking or exploring the vessel itself. But most are still at the shore, as you can see on your screen. All of those boats have been out to sea all day, in fact, for the last 3 days. Now, with the exception of 1 or 2,
And just to repeat, so the body of the yacht's Kirk Ricaldo Thomas, that was located shortly after the vessel sank. And just to repeat here, 1 of 2 bodies now recovered from the vessel a short while ago here, as you can see on your screen, in Sicily, has been described by authorities, found by divers, is a heavily built man. That would fit the profile of Mike Lynch, but of course no formal identification yet, no naming. We will now begin the process of the formal identification, which will understandably take some time, and that the process of that will be contacting relatives to let them know first before anything is publicly made. This is standard practice. And of course, then, Adam Cherry, the search will continue in the super yacht. There are still 4 unaccounted for.
Yeah, and they're not wasting a second getting on with that. As I say, they are still out there right now as I speak. I can see them in front of me. The friends and family are also nearby, in a nearby village. This is just about 10 miles east of Palermo itself, this town, Tortoliggio. So it's, you know, everyone is still here. And once they are informed, I'm sure we'll find out more ourselves very, very quickly afterwards. But there is a formal process we have to go through here before any identifications are made public, other than what we know already, which is that one heavily built man has been found alongside another. So 2 bodies in total, 4 still missing people in the vessel itself.
And it's worth pointing out that Mike Lynch's wife, Angela, she's 57, she survived this tragedy. So she'll be watching and waiting all of this with extreme trepidation. As we say, Adam Cherry, there now follows a formal and rigorous and time-consuming process of formal identification. And until that process is completed, there'll be no announcement to the press. That is the process. I think that's the right thing to do. We have to follow protocol. But as you said, Adam Cherry, 4 still on that vessel, or around that vessel, 4 bodies, 4 people still missing. And that search, in tandem with the identification, will be carrying on as we speak. How busy is the area in terms, so we can see a very, very busy marina, shoreside activity there, numerous police officers, a large number of emergency service workers. Out at sea, Adam, how busy is the ongoing operation? What can you see?
So I can see 1 large vessel and then 1 smaller lifeboat just beyond it, maybe 20 to 30 metres further out to sea. The shore itself has become very, very busy in the last half an hour or so as this news has emerged. It's been quiet all day today, quieter than yesterday. And then the news happened all at once, really, very quickly. And as soon as people heard about it, they've obviously come straight to the shore. The pier which is behind me, viewers can't see it, but you can see the end of it, the footage on screen. That part is now completely swarmed with emergency services personnel. Again, that was relatively quiet throughout the day up until an hour ago when more vehicles arrived. Saw a helicopter arrive as well within the last 45 minutes. They went straight to the end of the pier where you can see what you're seeing on the screens at the moment. So it's picking up very quickly.
And Adam, in terms of that helicopter we can hear on our pictures now, is that being used, is that being deployed as part of the rescue mission? Is it forming like an aerial strategic overview, or is it ferrying divers from the shore to the location? How's that helicopter being used?
So I think what you can hear actually there is not a helicopter. It wasn't the helicopter, it was the boat. Which is still there. You can see on your screens. It's one of the propellers of the boat. The helicopter itself is 50 meters in the other direction, and it's currently stationary. And so they're not using that at the moment. But what they do is every hour or so they send it out and send it around the perimeter of the area. So that we may see that again soon. But at the moment, it's staying still.
And I wonder if people are just tuning in, if we can just show those earlier images once again, and to warn you, they are distressing. This is of a body being carried into an ambulance, an earlier recovery. There it is now, the pictures. So 2 bodies have recently been recovered from the yacht, from the hull of that super yacht. You can see one there being carried ashore. It's a body bag being carried ashore by emergency service workers into what appears to be like a set-up forensic tent. And then there's adjacent to that is the back of an open waiting ambulance. We assume the body will then be put in that ambulance after a while of it being examined, will be taken off to a nearby medical facility, and then the process of a formal identification will begin. And as Adam Cherry said, the friends and family of the survivors are in the area in a village nearby. They'll be watching all of this and thinking this could be, the beginnings of very, very bad news. Pointing out again, Mike Lynch's wife, Angela, 57, she survived this tragedy, this typhoon, that tornado that tore into the ship and appeared to have capsized it. Its supersized mast may have been a factor. We understood as well, did we not, Adam Cherry, that the portholes on the boat, on the yacht, were open because it was a balmy, warm evening, and that may have hastened its sinking.
Yeah, this is part of the investigation. It's one of the leading theories at the moment. Of course, more will emerge in time. The hatches were open because it was a million day, and it's difficult to do that. And whilst they're open and this water spout unexpectedly emerged, it sent a gust of water into the vessel, and that's why it sunk so quickly. Other vessels in the immediate area perhaps had theirs closed, which is why they survived that. There are now 4 British investigators that are conducting preliminary investigation, but we don't know much more than that at the moment because those British investigators only arrived today, and of course the priority at the moment has been focusing on finding missing people.
And there's also some extraordinary footage, Adam, of the marina where there are many, many other boats and many, many other craft that appeared to be largely unaffected by this very localised tornado. So, again, in a sense, spectacularly unlikely accident just to hit this one vessel.
Yeah, I'm looking in front of me. There are hundreds upon hundreds of boats here. It's a very common area to dock. So, it is what's being known as one event, something that, in retrospect, appears obvious. Keep those hatches closed in case of emergency. But something like this is so so rare that you just don't think of those things. The captain of the ship, it was an experienced captain, clocked up lots of miles on the ocean. So it's not as if this is through negligence, it appears. It does just seem like horrendous bad luck and misfortune, unfortunately.
And yesterday on the show, Adam, we spoke to Dr. Simon Boxall. He's an oceanographer at the University of Southampton. He was a consultant during the Titan submarine disaster. And yesterday he said to me, even then, 24 hours ago, that with the depths, the temperature of the water, the high pressure, the effect that would have on anybody that may still be alive, and also, as we kept saying, the hope that there were air pockets that were able to fuel and help people that may be alive on there to survive, they would have been depleted. No idea of their size, although he pointed out this is a very, very substantially sized vessel. It's not a yacht in the sense of one that we'd understand from seeing around the shores of Britain, a super yacht, so a good sized vessel that people could easily walk underneath in the hull in, may have contained large pockets of air. But with the deployment, with the breaking of windows and the sending of drones inside, Adam, combing meticulously for evidence, you'd think if there was any good news, that good news would have been released.
So, Michael, I should say, I see what's appearing in front of me now, the 2 vessels which were out to sea and have been throughout the duration of our conversation today. They're now returning to the shore as well. At least one of them. I can see one lifeboat containing maybe 8 to 10 emergency services workers is approaching the shore as I speak. You may be able to see it on your screen shortly when it arrives. The shore is heading directly towards us, along with it's being tailed by the larger vessel, although that's not coming into shore itself. Yeah, you see it just there. That's live right now. That is coming straight towards the emergency services at the shore, who are all still gathered. The ambulance containing the body bag of one of the discovered victims is still on the shore. It hasn't moved yet. So we'll see what happens with this boat as it arrives at the shore imminently. The other vessel is still, actually, it appears, staying out to sea at the moment, although it may come in shortly.
And Adam Cherry, you're on the location there in Sicily. That vessel that we now see coming ashore, was that one of the vessels that was actually above the sunken super yacht. This will be one of the vessels that's been involved in the direct search and rescue mission.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, so all day long, vessels like that and a few larger ones, they were all around the wreckage. And they are now, as you can see, arriving back to shore. But yeah, this was one of them. 100%, this was one of them. One of the smaller ones, which has been patrolling the area since early this morning. It was out to sea. It has now returned to shore. It does. It looks like the larger one will remain outside of the shore. Will remain at sea for now. It's turning again as I speak. I think it was just escorting this one.
So we may well find that the larger vessel above the sunken super yacht, that's the one that the divers are going up and down from. That's the one that's, if you like, the airside point of contact for this underwater rescue mission with the drones, with divers as they go down. This vessel here coming ashore now, presumably, will be bringing something from that yacht ashore, perhaps. We saw a short while ago that's precisely what happened. Let's see what is offloaded from this vessel, if anything. There are 4 or 5 emergency service workers there. They appear to be passing things up, to be waiting. Emergency workers, ambulance workers, looks of it, diving equipment being passed up. Can't see any evidence of another body on this vessel. It looks like they're just putting their oxygen tanks ashore, perhaps for...
Yeah, Martin, it looks like equipment at the moment. It looks like equipment. I can't see anything other than that at this stage. As I said, the other vessel has now turned around and looks like it's heading back out to sea. But that would be the only one. So all the smaller boats are now at shore, as far as I can see here.
And a routine part of any operation like this, Adam Cherry, would be the divers coming ashore to recuperate. They're under high pressure. That's why they're only allowed to go down for 12 minutes, because of the compression, fatigue, and the effects of that underwater experience. And so they'd be coming ashore here to get their tanks replenished, because this is very much still a live recovery and rescue mission. 4 bodies still down there, Adam. So this is very much a live rescue mission we can undersea here.
Yeah, you can see them unloading equipment there as we speak. So that appears to be what's happening. You can see tanks, you can see diving equipment. So they are replenishing that now. I would expect, I don't know, but I would expect that they, or perhaps another boat, will turn around and head back out to the sea shortly. They're now just heading towards the back of the emergency services vehicle and the tent which has been set up. So what you're seeing here, the tents and the convoy, that's been there since Monday. It's grown since then, but it was relatively quiet throughout today until the last hour, as I say, when multiple new ambulances, the helicopter we discussed earlier, that all arrived almost immediately as soon as the news began to break, adding to the convoy here.
And within those tents there, that would become now like an onshore mission HQ. That equipment, there'd be spares and supplies all in there. So as we can see from these live pictures, the equipment being ferried ashore, no doubt being replenished and or replaced or serviced in those tents, to then go back out to continue what is very much a live recovery mission. We can see medics and all sorts of emergency staff there, police, local forces out there waiting to assist anybody who may come ashore in distress. And that they're hoping, of course, they're praying, as everybody watching, searching the families, there may be some slim chance of survivors coming ashore. But it has to be said, Adam, every expert we've spoken to on GB News now with any experience thinks that the chances of anybody surviving this long underwater is vanishingly small.
It is. I mean, there are examples throughout recent history, of survivors of similar scenarios. One man surviving for 4 days in an air pocket underwater. Of course, we're now on the 3rd here. So it's not totally out of the question